Hello, friends. Welcome to E-Taragati, where education is digitalized. So, today we shall start out with the Daily Hindu newspaper analysis of 19th August 2020. And before we begin, again, I would like to thank you all for the growing support you've been giving to us and the positive comments, which are really motivating for our team. And again, I would urge all the listeners to please like, share, and subscribe because this is a free course which we are giving to the benefit of Group 1, Group 2, UPSC and other competitive examinations. ఎందుకంటే ఈ మాడ్యూల్ ఏదైతే ఉందో మీకు ఫ్రీగా ఏదైతే ఇవ్వడం జరుగుతుందో హిందూ న్యూస్ పేపర్ని మన ఏపీపీఎస్సికి యూపీఎస్సికి రెండు విలీనం చేసుకుంటూ ఎక్స్ప్లెయిన్ చేయడం జరుగుతుంది అండ్ దిస్ వుడ్ బి డైరెక్ట్లీ బెనిఫిషియల్ ఫర్ ఆల్ ద మెయిన్స్ ఆన్సర్స్ యుడ్ బి రైటింగ్ అండ్ ఈవెన్ ఎవరైతే ప్రిలిమ్స్కి ప్రిపేర్ అవుతున్నారో ఎవరైతే గ్రూప్ 2 ప్రిపేర్ అవుతున్నారో ఎవరైతే యూపీఎస్సీ ప్రిలిమ్స్ ఫోకస్లో కూడా చూస్తున్నారో వాళ్ళకు కూడా మనం ద ఫోకస్ ఏరియాస్ ఇన్ ద బిట్ వైస్ ఆర్ హైలైటెడ్ ఇన్ దిస్ వీడియో అండ్ డెఫినెట్లీ దీని యూస్ మీకు చూస్తున్నప్పుడు అర్థమవుతుంది అండ్ ఎగ్జామ్లో కూడా డెఫినెట్లీ తెలుస్తుంది సో ప్లీజ్ మీ ఫ్రెండ్స్ కూడా చెప్పండి అండ్ హెల్ప్ అవర్ ఛానల్ గ్రో బికాస్ ఆ గ్రోయింగ్ నుంచి మనకి ఒక పాజిటివ్ బూస్ట్ వస్తుంది అండ్ ఎంటైర్ టీమ్ విచ్ ఇస్ వర్కింగ్ రియలీ హార్డ్ టు క్యూరేట్ ద బెస్ట్ ఆర్టికల్స్ ఫర్ యూ అండ్ గివ్ ద బెస్ట్ మెటీరియల్ మనకు ఒక పాజిటివ్ ఎనర్జీ వస్తుంది సో లెట్ us బిగిన్ ఫ్రెండ్స్ ఇవాల్టి అనాలిసిస్ ఫస్ట్ ఆర్టికల్ ద హెడ్లైన్స్ బేసికలీ ఇస్ అబౌట్ ద పిఎం కేర్స్ ఫండ్ సుప్రీం కోర్ట్ నిన్న రూలింగ్ ఇచ్చింది ఏంటంటే ఈ పిఎం కేర్స్ ఫండ్ని ఆడిట్ చేయాల్సిన అవసరం లేదని సో ద సుప్రీం కోర్ట్ endorsed the public cares fund as a public charitable trust. దీనికి డోనర్స్ ఎవరైతే ఉన్నారో దే కెన్ వాలంటరీలీ కాంట్రిబ్యూట్ సో ఇది ఒక పబ్లిక్ చారిటబుల్ ట్రస్ట్ అయినందుకు దేర్ ఇస్ నో ఒకేజన్ క్యాగ్ ఆడిట్ కోసం మనం క్యాగ్ చదువుతున్నప్పుడు ఇండియన్ పాలిటీలో వి సీ ద టైమ్స్ వేర్ క్యాగ్ కెన్ ఆడిట్ లైక్ ఇఫ్ ఇట్స్ అ పబ్లిక్ కార్పొరేషన్ ఆర్ పబ్లిక్ కంపెనీ బట్ ఇఫ్ ఇట్స్ అన్ ఇండిపెండెంట్ అండ్ పబ్లిక్ చారిటబుల్ ట్రస్ట్ అప్పుడు క్యాగ్ ఆడిట్ చేయాల్సిన అవసరం లేదు అండ్ ఇట్ ఇస్ ఇండిపెండెంట్ ఆఫ్ బడ్జెటరీ సపోర్ట్ ఆర్ గవర్నమెంట్ మనీ కాబట్టి క్యాగ్ పర్వ్యూలో రాదు అని yesterday court ruling has come and the court has also said that any PIL which can question the wisdom of the fund అసలు ఎందుకు ఈ ఫండ్ క్రియేట్ చేశారు అన్న దానికి మేము అసలు వినే పరిస్థితిలో లేము ఎందుకంటే at this hour no exception can be made can be to the constitution of a public charitable trust. This is said by Justice Ashok Bhushan. If you see here, there is more elaboration to this. Justice Bhushan has told the funds collected in PM Cares Fund are entirely different funds under public charitable trust, and there is no occasion for issuing any direction to transfer to NDRF. Because basically, with the outbreak of COVID-19 in India as well as countries of the world, we need immediate enhancement in infrastructure of medical health and creation of a fund to contain the COVID-19. సో ఇప్పుడు మనకి అర్జెన్సీ ఉంది కాబట్టి వీ నీడ్ సచ్ ట్రస్ట్ అండ్ వీ కెనాట్ టేక్ ఎనీ పిఐఎల్ విచ్ విల్ క్వశ్చన్ అసలు ఎందుకు ఈ ట్రస్ట్ క్రియేట్ చేశారని అండ్ దీనికి ఆపోజిట్గా బేసికలీ ద ఎన్జిఓ సెంటర్ ఫర్ పబ్లిక్ ఇంట్రెస్ట్ లిటిగేషన్ హ్యాస్ ఫైల్ బేసికలీ దిస్ ప్లీ బై అడ్వకేట్ ప్రశాంత్ భూషణ్ ఎవరైతే ఇప్పుడు మన కంటెంప్ట్ ఆఫ్ కోర్ట్ కేసులో స్టక్ అయ్యారో లాస్ట్ 1 వీక్ నుంచి మనం ఆర్టికల్స్ ఏవైతే చూస్తున్నామో అతనే మళ్ళీ he has argued, and the advocate is Prashant Bhushan and the judge name is Ashok Bhushan. So in the article you can see two Bhushans actually, so please don't get confused. And basically the petition has said that it was not under public scrutiny and దీనికి contribute చేసిన PM cares అన్ని 100% tax free. So these are actually the features of the PM cares fund also. మీకు prelims లో question వస్తే like what are the features of the PM Cares Fund, there'll be options like option A, it is under public scrutiny or CAG audit undi or tax పడుతుంది దీనిపైన ఇలాంటివన్నీ మనకి రాంగ్గా తీసుకోవడం అవ్వాలి because they are not features of the PM Cares Fund. And the court also dismissed that PM Cares Fund ఏదైతే ఉందో it was done to circumvent the NDRF. ఇప్పుడు మనం డిజాస్టర్ మేనేజ్మెంట్లో చదివాం there is a statutory fund, the National Disaster Response Fund, NDRF, under the Disaster Management Act. It will basically finance the fight against calamity కదా. సో దీన్ని సర్కమ్వెంట్ చేయడానికి పెట్టలేదు పిఎం కేర్స్ అని రూలింగ్ ఇచ్చారు. అండ్ ద బెంచ్ హెస్ ఆల్సో రిఫ్యూజ్ టు డైరెక్ట్ ద ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ ఆఫ్ ఫండ్స్. ఈ పిఎం కేర్స్ నుంచి ఎన్డీఆర్ఎఫ్కి ట్రాన్స్ఫర్ చేయమని ప్లీ వచ్చింది, దాన్ని కూడా జడ్జ్ అసలు కొట్టేశారు. అండ్ అనదర్ ఆస్పెక్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద ప్లీ ఇస్, ఇప్పుడు ఒక కొత్త ప్లాన్ మనకి కోవిడ్-19 కోసం అనవసరమని మిస్టర్ జస్టిస్ అశోక్ భూషణ్ has reason. Because ఇప్పుడు this a very logical and conceptual point here, which you can actually write in the answers for a value addition. ఎప్పుడైనా డిజాస్టర్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ ఎప్పుడైనా ఉంటే ఈ కేసులో అండర్ పిఎం కేర్స్ కేస్, the Supreme Court has ruled that national plan and guidelines by the very nature they occur prior to the disaster. సో ద మెజర్ అనేది ప్రిపేర్డ్నెస్లోనే ఉంటుంది. సో ఇప్పుడు మనకి కోవిడ్-19లో ఇప్పుడు వచ్చింది కోవిడ్-19 అనుకుంటే వీ కెనాట్ సే ఇప్పుడు ఒక మనం ప్లాన్ చేద్దామని వీ కెనాట్ టెల్. ఎందుకంటే అసలు ప్లాన్ అనేది ప్రిపేర్డ్నెస్ కొనే ఉండాలి. దట్ ఈస్ ద లాజిక్ ఇట్ హెస్ బిన్ యూస్డ్. అఫ్ కోర్స్ దెర్ ఇస్ అ సైకిల్ దట్ ప్రీ ప్లాన్ ఒకటి చేయాలి, దెన్ ఆఫ్టర్ అడాప్టేషన్ దిస్ వన్ థింగ్, అండ్ ఆఫ్టర్ ద డిజాస్టర్ ఆల్సో పోస్ట్ రికవరీ, and for mitigation there's another plan. We have the disaster management cycle, but plan అనేది it should be focused on preparedness itself. సో ఇప్పుడు కోవిడ్-19 అయ్యాక ఇప్పుడు ప్లాన్ చేయడం అనేది ఇట్స్ నాట్ ద కరెక్ట్ ప్రాసెస్ అని ద సుప్రీం కోర్ట్ హెస్ opined. And this is actually a very logical point. And Justice Bhushan, he also found no reason to interfere with the minimum standards of relief. For Disaster Management Act లో there are some minimum requirements under section 12. You can see a section 12, which are shelter, food, drinking water, medical cover, sanitation, and other things. These guidelines for minimum standards are there even before COVID-19. So the said guidelines for minimum standards hold even for those who are affected by COVID-19. So this is the gist of the article. You can see here it is a public charitable trust. It's voluntary, and there is no occasion to direct the transfer. And donors can contribute to the National Disaster Response Fund if they want. And there is no need for CAG audit. There is no need for a fresh disaster management plan, and no reason to lay down minimum standards. And the existing guidelines are there under Section 12. The Section 12 you can remember. So this is the basic factual part of the PM Cares Fund. And I'm sure any question on PM Cares Fund you should be able to answer. And if a bit of analysis, there was an RTI also filed about PM Cares Fund లో అసలు ఎంత మనకి మనీ చేకూర్చారని. So it was found that 3,076 crores has been deposited. You can see here under PM Cares Fund said the response to the RTI request. And foreign నుంచి 39 lakh has also been deposited the same. And the fund, as we've discussed, it's a public charitable trust. It was formed on March 27th, and it was announced in the PIB. It is not clear whether information of 2019 collection were added to the website. So repeatedly there were RTA requests which have been stonewalled basically, and April nunchi there is no info basically. And they are saying that publicly announced donations include over 1,000 crore from public sector oil and gas companies, 500 crore from employees from Defense Ministry, and such things. And will ఎందుకు అసలు why are they not telling how much it's been deposited is? A senior official, he has told, once a respectable amount of money is collected, we ourselves will proactively tell. So on May 13th, FAQ has noted 3,100 crore have been sanctioned from the fund to be spent for ventilators, migrant workers, and such. So they themselves will tell. It's a charitable trust, so we don't have to um, give a proper disclosure. That's the argument given. Now there's another fund here, it's been highlighted. Please don't get confused here. The Prime Minister's National Relief Fund. It's also headed by PM. It publishes information on contribution dispersal, including foreign contribution, yearly basis. And latest data ఏదైతే ఉందో 534 crores collected అని అంటున్నారు. And it had unspent balance of 3,800 crore in December 2019. So basically there are three funds అండి. So so that you don't get confused, the first is the CARES fund, which we discussed in the previous slide, and the next is the PMNRF, okay, which I discussed right now. Now, both of these are by the Prime Minister, kada? And ఇది కాకుండా there is the other fund, which is the NDRF. It is part of the Disaster Management Act, and this is statutory fund. There is a proper CAG audit and all. But E2 funds ki there is no CAG audit. Both of these funds, they are audited by chartered accountants, Sark and Associates. They're Delhi law chartered accountant company adi. So they take care of CARES and PMR. They're not under public eye. So now దీనికి obviously judgment ki there would be opposition, and opposition has come from Congress. They have told that the Supreme Court judgment is a body blow to transparency and accountability of the government. Similarly, Prashant Bhushan, who had argued the case, he had told that it is unfortunate that Supreme Court allows non-transparent and unaccountable PM CARES fund set up as a secret trust to garner money in the name of COVID relief, rather than transferring to NDRF, which is accessible to RTI and audited by CAG. So similarly, there's some other criticism also against the judgment and PM CARES on the whole. But for the exam purposes, we should know the factual information. I don't think there would be a question in mains saying that is PM CARES fund a good step? You know, is it accountable? Anta, I don't think there would be such critical questions. But even if there's there, you can see the aspects in this article. So moving on to the next issue. Now we shall start the state-specific news for APPSC. The COVID tally in Andhra Pradesh, it has crossed 3 lakh mark yesterday. Of course, it's not important for the exam, but I thought as civil services aspirants and as spirited citizens of the state and country, you should be aware of nature too. So AP has become the third state in the country to witness over 3 lakh infections after Maharashtra and Tamil Nadu. And it has taken only 11 days to detect the third lakh infection, with 6 lakh tests after crossing the 2 lakh mark. So there's such factual information. Should remember that ఇప్పుడు 3 lakh mark AP cross అవ్వడం జరిగింది. And this shows the intensity of the case also. East Godavari has continued to witness more new cases, followed by Chittoor, Vizag, Guntur, Kurnool, and so on. So let us get up to the actual parts of APPC మనకి ఎక్కడ యూజ్ వస్తుందో. We have been seeing the flood situation for the past few days, and we have discussed the disaster management and how to handle floods and what the government can do, and what are all the comprehensively we have discussed on 16th August. If anybody of you have missed it, please watch the 16th August video. Here the current update is the flood situation in Godavari has affected nearly 50,000 people, mostly from the downstream of SAC barrage, that is Sir Arthur Cotton barrage, flooding over 3,800 houses in East Godavari. And nearly 28,000 of those affected by flood have been evacuated. So 28,000 have been evacuated, and evacuation of the rest is still in process. And many habitations near branches of river Godavari, Vainyathia, Vasishta, Vriddha Gautami are underwater. You should remember the rivers' names. And yesterday we had seen the flow of the river also. That is important. We'll mali ఇప్పుడు discuss revise చేద్దాం మళ్ళీ దాన్ని. And many standing crops of banana and other horticultural crops in Gannavaram, Amalapuram, these have been affected also. So similarly, you can see in the villages affected by Vriddha Gautami near Yanam, many families were arguing with the government staff on duty, appealing for timely evacuation. So basically, the situation is not rosy at all, because 50,000 people have been affected. That's a very big number. And here we can see an angle in GS4 also. మీకు ethics లో కూడా, like in 2019 there was a question, flood situation అయింది, and as an official you're meeting the flood duty, but people are arguing or people are very violent and they have injured a team member. What will you do? So this is something like that, and we shall have a separate discussion on ethics paper for the exam. and akkada we should solve such interesting case studies. But just be aware that మీకు ఎథిక్స్లో కేస్ స్టడీస్ ఎక్కడి నుంచో రావు, ఇలాంటి న్యూస్ పేపర్ ఆర్టికల్స్ నుంచే వస్తాయి. Here, like we have seen the river flow, for example, the branches of river Godavari downstream are in full flow. Gautami, Gautami ఏదైతే ఉందో it flows in southeast direction. It splits into two branches, the Vriddha Gautami and the Koringa Park ఏదైతే ఉందో అక్కడి నుంచి. So we should remember Gautami and its branches, Vriddha Gautami and Koringa. And they meet at Yanam and Kakinada. Kakinada దగ్గర and Yanam దగ్గర these meet, Vriddha Gautami and Koringa. There's another branch which is Vasishta. Vasishta another branch, ఇది కూడా డివైడ్ అయ్యి కాకినాడ అండ్ నర్సాపురంలో they meet. So please remember the names of the rivers, they're very important. Gautami, Vasishta, and here we've seen Vriddha Gautami, Vasishta and Vainateya. These three branches of Godavari are very important. Okay. Gautami, it's dividing into Vriddha Gautami and Koringa, and Vasishta also divides. And as a relief measure, we can quote such relief measures. The Honorable Chief Minister Y.S. Jagannath Reddy, he has announced relief of 2,000 rupees for each household in the flood affected East and West Godavari districts. Each household ఏదైతే చూసాం మనం, the 50,000 people and household లెక్కను చూస్తే 2,000 rupees have been announced. He had conducted an aerial survey, and other thing it is useful we can mention in flood relief is designated of one MRO at each relief camp to take stock of the relief operations, and people's representatives should take part in the relief activities. అలాగే స్టాఫ్ ఆఫ్ సోషల్ వెల్ఫేర్ హాస్టల్స్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో దే షుడ్ ఆల్సో బీ డ్రాఫ్టెడ్ ఫర్ రిలీఫ్ ఆపరేషన్స్, అండ్ కోవిడ్ టెస్ట్ అక్కడ ఆ రిలీఫ్ క్యాంప్లో కూడా జరగాలంటున్నారు. And as a positive sign, the flood water seems to be receding in Bhadrachalam. Yesterday we've seen some 60 feet Bhadrachalamlo, it has been recorded. So the joint collector will supervise the relief camps, and it has been told. And once the floods recede, health camps would be conducted. Within 10 days, the extent of crop loss should be assessed. So these are the measures which are being taken by the AP government. And this is, మనం 16th August ఏదైతే డిస్కస్ చేసామో ద మెజర్స్ విచ్ కెన్ బి టేకెన్, దానికి కరెంట్లీ ఏపీ గవర్నమెంట్ ఏం మెజర్స్ తీసుకుంటుందో అది కూడా రాయొచ్చు. ఎందుకంటే మనకి November 2nd కానీ ఎగ్జామ్ అయితే, అంటే ఐఏఎస్ చాలా స్ట్రాంగ్ సూచనలు ఉన్నాయి కాబట్టి ఫ్లడ్ రిలీఫ్ అండ్ ఫ్లడ్ ఇన్ గోదావరి డిజాస్టర్ మేనేజ్మెంట్ మీకు ఆల్మోస్ట్ 100% క్వశ్చన్ వస్తుంది, మీరు రాసి పెట్టుకోవచ్చు. అండ్ దీనికి కావాల్సిన ఎంటైర్ వాల్యుయేషన్ హెస్ బిన్ గివెన్ హియర్, సో ప్లీజ్ మేక్ యూస్ ఆఫ్ ఇట్. And similarly, moving on to more APPSC related news, there would be, this is basically for group 2 prelims and all. Meeku tourism minister yesterday has told that 3 international stadia would be coming up. మన August 20th రేపు ఏదైతే ఉందో ఒక న్యూ టూరిజం పాలసీ వస్తుంది, అండ్ ఆ టూరిజం పాలసీలో ఇట్ వుడ్ బి అనౌన్స్డ్. అండ్ సిమిలర్లీ హీ హస్ సెడ్ a Buddhist museum meditation camp would come up near Totlakonda, and people would be allowed to visit the tourist destinations from September. So let us see tomorrow when the tourism policy is out. We shall also discuss it at length, and it would be definitely important for the exam also. And this is a more pertinent news here. Industrial policy ఏదైతే రిలీజ్ అయిందో August 11th, the industrial policy, AP industrial policy was released. If you haven't studied it, we shall discuss briefly the industrial policy in the next slide, but maybe we'll also have another exclusive video for AP industrial policy. Please do let us know in the comment section if you want such video. We'll record such video. Meeku mottam AP industrial policy cover ayala, we'll cover it. So yesterday the industries minister has said that Andhra Pradesh offers vast opportunities for investors in the infrastructure sector. So in a session for in the session for opportunities in infrastructure sector in Andhra Pradesh, the minister has said that government has readied micro and macro level plans for accelerators and developing infrastructure and bringing convergence. So there are also plans to establish three seaports, an international airport at Bhogapuram, and upgrading the existing airports at Vijayawada and Tirupati. And there is also focus for building roads and port connectivity. And he has told that, and ఇక్కడ ఇంకోటి referring to the VCIC, మన విశాఖపట్నం ఇండస్ట్రియల్ కారిడార్ ఏదైతే చూస్తామో, many sector specific industrial clusters would be created for driving growth. And the new industrial policy, which was launched on August 11th, which I told, it would stabilize the existing industries and help overcome the challenges due to COVID-19 crisis. So what exactly is the industrial policy? On August 11th, this was launched. The new industrial policy for 2023 proposes interventions across infrastructure, ease of doing business, skill development, business enablement, and fiscal incentives. So, an important point is skill development kuda we have here. Okay, so don't forget such important points. And there would be complete zoning and pre-clearance of industrial land in the state. There would be setting up of MSME parks with plug and play facilities. And all clearances it will be ready so that the MSME can come and start operations. And similarly, to enhance the ease of doing business, the government proposes to provide deemed approval with a grace period of 3 years for all the green category MSMEs. Even the approval ayyo, vaatiku grace period kuda they're giving. And 30 skill centers. This way I mentioned there is a lot of focus on skilling. And APPSC, one of the favorite topics is skilling. So, 30 skill centers and 2 skilling universities also will be established. And there are fiscal incentives also for MSMEs, which include 100% reimbursement of stamp duty. You can see here, power subsidy, reimbursement of 100% of net SGST, 15% investment subsidy, and so on. This is for MSMEs. So if there's a question asking specifically MSMEs, you should elaborate on this. But for medium and large and mega industries, the net SGST reimbursement linked to employment generation has been proposed. So there would be net SGST reimbursement with ఎంత employment generate చేసింది అసలు అది a large mega industry చూసుకొని there would be reimbursement. And there's also incentives for special category and women entrepreneurs. And these are important. 10 thrust sectors are identified. Group 2 and Group 1 prelims ఏదైతే ఫ్యూచర్లో అవుతుందో దానికి ఈ 10 sectors should be marked up. Food processing, textiles, pharma and biotech, electronics, defense and aerospace, leather and footwear, toys and furniture, petrochemical and allied automobiles, machinery, precision equipment, and mineral-based industries. These are the 10 thrust sectors. So mostly I think they are obvious, but some things like toys and furniture, అలాగే ప్రెసిషన్ ఎక్విప్మెంట్, మినరల్ బేస్డ్ ఇండస్ట్రీస్ గుర్తుపెట్టుకోండి, ఇవి కూడా దే ఆర్ పార్ట్ ఆఫ్ ద ఏపీ ఇండస్ట్రియల్ పాలసీ. And the YSR AP1, this is again an important center. It would be set up as a multifaceted capability center. And E-Center, if it offered 10 key services like entrepreneurship generation, facilitation, sales support, MSME revitalization, ఇవన్నీ చూస్తుంది. And as we have seen, the new policy will emphasize equal focus on existing units along with facilitating new industrial units. So ఒక బ్యాలెన్స్డ్ గ్రోత్ అవుతుంది మనకి. మనం GS4లో APPSC GS4లో అంటే మన ఏపీ ఎకానమీ పార్ట్లో వీ హ్యావ్ స్పెసిఫిక్లీ సీన్ ఆన్ బ్యాలెన్స్డ్ గ్రోత్. అక్కడ such important aspects can be covered. On the whole, I feel this is a very extremely important development, the AP industrial policy. And if you would comment on the comment section that you need an exclusive video, మొత్తం document 22 pages document ఒక summarize చేసి మీకు will discuss that at length because it's very important. But the gist of it for the preliminary examinations, I think this would be sufficient. The slide is enough. The features, ఏవైతే ఫీచర్స్ ఉన్నాయో ఎంఎస్ఎంఈస్కి ఏమవుతుంది, లార్జ్ అండ్ మెగా ఇండస్ట్రీస్కి ఏం చేస్తున్నారు, అండ్ థ్రస్ట్ సెక్టర్స్ ఏంటి, వైఎస్ఆర్ AP1 ఏంటి. This is enough for us. So the next article, It's basically a lengthy article dealing with India and Nepal, the situation ఏదైతే ఉందో. But don't get worried about the size of the article because actually there's very little use which has been covered for us. Like in the article, the author begins to introduce by saying, when the Nepal India dispute over Himalayan territory of Limpayadura, Limpayadura is important, Manaki, it flared up. New Delhi opinion makers presented as లింపాయదూరా టెరిటరీ ఏదైతే ఉందో దానికి మన న్యూ ఢిల్లీ ఒపీనియన్ మేకర్స్ దే హ్యావ్ టోల్డ్ that it was an upstart nation run by renegade prime minister thumbing its nose at India. And ఇది బీజింగ్ ఇన్స్టిగేషన్తో కూడా అవుతుంది. And Kathmandu's policy bristled at accusation and came up like a nationalist climax which adopted a new map which included Limpayadura. Limpayadura, and here actually it has not been mentioned at length, but the Kalapani river dispute actually is the important part, the Kalapani territorial area. Adi we shall discuss in the next slide. But here the article has told that Limpayadura nunchi this it has started. And similarly, as most of you would be aware, the Nepal Prime Minister KP Oli, with revolting coverage, he has abandoned diplomatic decorum and questioned India's commitment to Satyamev Jayati, and he claimed the true birthplace of Lord Ram in present-day Nepal. So idantha ayindi, and de-escalation must happen before the social, cultural and economic flows occur the damage ani. It's basically a peaceful article, and it's actually written by Kanak Mani Dikshit, who's a journalist in Kathmandu. So that is the మీకు orientation of article అర్థమై ఉంటుంది. So what should New Delhi do is, the New Delhi analysts must try and understand why Nepal does not have an independence day. It would help them to unravel the Limpayadura tangle and accept the need to go back to archival papers. And Kathmandu perspective nunchi, India diplomacy seems increasingly unresponsible to centralized control of PMO. And geopolitical capacity dwindle ayindi. Similarly, Indian commentators have returned to lambasting the hapless Pakistan while ignoring China. So all this has happened. A lot of political news ఇక్కడ డిస్కస్ చేస్తున్నారు. బట్ ఇక్కడ ఇంకో వన్ మోర్ ఇంపార్టెంట్ థింగ్ ఇస్ నేపాల్ క్లెయిమ్ ఏదైతే ఉందో ఇట్ ఇస్ అరౌండ్ ద ట్రీటీ ఆఫ్ సుగాలి, under which the Raja of Nepal he renounces all claims to the countries lying to the west of Kali River. Of course, no agreement has superseded the treaty, and no subsequent cartographic chicanery by the company Sarkar could undermine the 1815 document. So basically, the gist of the document is Nepal wants to stay with what it considers the upstream Kali at the time of the treaty signing 205 years ago. సో కాళీ రివర్ నుంచి వెస్ట్ ఏదైతే ఉందో ఆ క్లెయిమ్ని మేము రెనౌన్స్ చేస్తున్నాం, బట్ ఇటువైపు ఏదైతే వాళ్ళ వైపు ఏదైతే ఉందో అది మొత్తం వాళ్ళది అని దర్ సెయింగ్. అండ్ దెర్ ఆర్ రాడ్క్లిఫ్ లైన్, మెక్మోహన్ లైన్, దురాంద్ లైన్, ఇలాంటి హిస్టారికలీ ఇవాల్వ్డ్ కంట్రీతో it would tend to rely more on proof of continuous state administration. So that this much is enough for us. And in 1990, demand for evacuation of Kalapani has also become important. And other areas manaki important is regarding suggestion of Nepal acting on China behest, the Kathmandu considers China complicit on Lipulek and has lodged strong protest with Beijing also. సో వీళ్ళకి ఒకవైపు కాలాపాని డిస్ప్యూట్ ఉంది అండ్ చైనాతో కూడా లిపులెక్ ఆ ఏరియాలో కూడా డిస్ప్యూట్ ఉందని అంటున్నారు. దెన్ దేర్ ఇస్ హిస్టారికల్ ఇంపార్టెన్స్ టు ద హోల్ థింగ్ అని అంటున్నారు. బట్ ఇదంతా మనకి వీ షుడ్ జస్ట్ బీ అవేర్ ఆఫ్ ద ఏరియాస్ ఇన్ డిస్ప్యూట్ because the author basically is given a very historical perspective, and I like the ending, I like the conclusion edithe what he's giving. He's saying that because on April 15th the ice was broken with Prime Minister KP Oli. He had called our Prime Minister and wished a happy Independence Day. So akkada volcano tappindi అని అంటున్నారు. And with the Prime Minister setting that tone, the negotiating teams must meet with archival papers, treaties, and agreements, communications, maps, and drawings. The formal negotiations should begin with ab initio public commitment by both sides to redraw the respective maps. And not to prejudge the outcome, if Nepal were to gain full possession of Limpaidura, it should declare the area a zone of peace and pilgrimage. అంటే he's saying that పోనీ అయిపోయింది అనుకున్నాం, లింపాయిదూర నేపాల్కి వెళ్ళిపోయింది అనుకున్నాం, అప్పుడు కూడా నేపాల్ షుడ్ డిక్లేర్ ద ఏరియా ఓన్లీ యాజ్ అ జోన్ ఆఫ్ పీస్ అండ్ ద లార్జర్ ఏరియా మస్ట్ బి డీమిలిటరైజ్డ్ బై బోత్ నేబర్స్ టు ఎన్ష్యూర్ సెక్యూరిటీ ఫర్ దెమ్సెల్స్ వైల్ ద కైలాష్ మాన్సరవ్ రూట్ ఏదైతే ఉందో అది ఇట్స్ వెరీ క్లోజ్ హియర్ అండ్ ఇట్ షుడ్ బి కెప్ట్ ఓపెన్ ఫర్ పిలిగ్రిమ్స్. సో లింపాయిదూర జోన్ ఆఫ్ పీస్ అండ్ పిలిగ్రిమేజ్ పెట్టచ్చు అని ద author is opine. But let us see the dispute which this is important for us. You can see here కాలాపాని ఏదైతే ఉందో ఇది సరిగ్గా ట్రై జంక్షన్ దగ్గర ఉంది, మనకు ఉత్తరాఖండ్ దగ్గర, నేపాల్ దగ్గర అండ్ చైనా దగ్గర. దీని లోయెస్ట్ పాయింట్ ఇస్ at 11,000 feet Kalapani. The highest point is the Lipulek Pass. Now Nepal has two tri junctions with India and China. One is the dispute now in Lipulek, is Lipulek in Kalapani at the border of Uttarakhand with Nepal. And in 1816, the Sugali Treaty was signed by Nepal and British. It identified Kali River as the Nepal's boundary with India. So Nepal claims the river to Kalapani's west is the main Kali, and thus Nepal has territorial rights over it. So river ఇది కాలాపాని వెస్ట్కి ఏదైతే ఉందో అదే మెయిన్ కాలి. సో మనకి ఇక్కడ రైట్స్ ఉన్నాయని ది సేమ్. India holds that a ridge line to Kalapani's east is the border. So Kalapani ఏదైతే ఉందో it's our territory and India has been saying. So Kalapani ఏంటిది? It's the easternmost corner of Uttarakhand's Pittorgarh. ఇక్కడ Pittorgarh district ఉంది. And both India and Nepal lay claim to Kalapani. And the dispute was revived in 2019 November when India published a revised political map showing the UTs of J&K and Ladakh. And this map showed Kalapani as part of Uttarakhand. Nepal immediately protested, and very recently we also constructed another important point ikkada, Darchula Lipulek Pass Link Road. You can see this is Darchula, this is Lipulek. Ikkad nunchi ikkadiki the road has been drawn and it's cutting across the disputed Kalapani area. And this road is actually used by Indian pilgrims to Kailash Mansarovar. So this is the whole idea, and Miki visual representation though I hope the issue is clear for you. Next is a small article. I just wanted to mention this because it may have ramifications for our APPSC and UPSC examinations also. The UGC, it argued that Supreme Court on through its July 6th directive to conduct the final year examinations by September end was not a diktat, and state could not unilaterally cancel the exam citing the pandemic. So basically what they're saying is state government ఒక ఇష్యూ ఉందనుకోండి, ఇప్పుడు ఎగ్జామ్ మేము పెట్టలేమని, దే కెనాట్ చేంజ్ ద షెడ్యూల్ ఆన్ దేర్ ఓన్. దే షుడ్ మీట్ విత్ ద సెంటర్ అండ్ కన్సల్ట్ ద యూజీసీ అబౌట్ their apprehensions. So some people have been telling that Kerala, West Bengal and some other states, they won't be conducting UPSC because of the growing cases and they can take their own call. But UGC and UPGC of course is not related to UPSC at all. But I feel this gives a hint about the center's mindset, because ఇది మన Solicitor General Tushar Mehta has told this, that there should be a line and they can take the exams online, offline or hybrid, అంటే కొంచెం ఆన్లైన్ కొంచెం ఆఫ్లైన్. And if student is unable to appear in the exam for any reason, another opportunity can be given to him after the September deadline is over. So all this is for the benefit of the students, and there is statutory supremacy, which is UGC's domain. So in this respect, basically the bench was hearing the question with the states like Maharashtra, Delhi, they could have cancelled UGC exams on their own. So the Centers Council has told that they cannot do like that. And yesterday also we've seen the NEET and IIT-JEE examinations also cannot be postponed. So I feel all these are strong indications that the UPSC prelims examination would be conducted in October, and APPSC also would follow through. So I would advise all the candidates and aspirants to prepare strongly for the exam. So next article, manaki UPSC ki very important article, which has been asked actually in previous mains also, the go and no go areas. And ikkada current affair ఏంటంటే, since 2015, of the 49 blocks cleared for coal mining, 9 were in no go areas. And the regions were once clarified by the Ministry of Environment and the Climate Change as containing very dense forests and hence close to coal mining. And 2020 low, of the 41 blocks put up for auction, 21 feature in the no-go list. This has been told by Center for Science and Environment, Delhi Leveditundo, headed by Sunita Narayan. It has told that 49 blocks for coal mining slow, 9 no-go areas low, and 41 blocks for auction low, 2020 low, 21 no-go low. And how was this done? This was done after the software was tweaked to clear the blocks in dense forest for auction. So there is something fishy going on, and it has been alleged. So two-stage auction was done in June 18th, and the decision was taken as part of Atmanirbhar Bharat. I hope any of you are aware. And though new blocks were being auctioned, the CSC investigation published in Down to Earth pointed out that currently India was not utilizing its existing capacity. And Right to Information response revealed that 67% of mines auction were not in operation yet. So ఉన్నవే అసలు యాక్షన్లో లేవు, but new things have been proposed. And several potential coal reserves located in dense forests of Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh, they are also potential coal reserves, and government determined which of them were too ecologically important to touch, using a decision support system software that rated forest lands on environmental parameters. And కొన్ని కేసెస్లో, this is the gist of the article, CSC has found, the Center for Science and Environment has found that the results of the software were tweaked to make no-go into go areas. అసలు no-go ఏంటి, go ఏంటి, we'll discuss in the next slide. But here bear with me that అంటే ఇప్పుడు మనం మైనింగ్ చేయలేదు అన్నది ఒక no-go ఏరియా, దాన్ని గోగా మారుస్తున్నారని CSC has alleged. And it has found that officials from the coal ministry, the beneficiary organization, were deputed to work with the Forest Survey of India to rework the conditions to clear forest for mining. So all this has happened. And Sunita, the Director General Sunita Narayan, she has told that our forests are where our coal reserves are. So forests and coal reserves are intrinsically linked, and our poorest people also live in that area. So if at all we must mine coal, which itself has serious pollution implication, we need to do so after careful consideration of the forests and environment impact assessment అవ్వాలి. మనం GS5 లో we study the environment impact assessment. So after a due environment impact assessment itself, such aspects can be taken up. So what exactly is go and no go area? It was declared in as early as June 2010 lone. The coal and environment ministries had undertaken a joint exercise where they told these are go areas, these are no go areas. So 582 blocks out of the 6 lakh hectares, 49% were no go area, where mining could be carried out in compliance with the environment forest laws. So ఇక్కడ ఏంటంటే no go area, go area, many people would be confused that no go లో you cannot do mining, but that is not true. Under no-go area, mining can be done with a joint compliance with environment and forest laws. That is the no-go area. Under a go area, the coal mining can be done as per the industrial policy. So here, and later the Environment Ministry re-examined the classification of coal blocks into two categories. So 23% was declared as no-go zone. And even after the revised study by BK Chaturvedi committee, this again is very important. BK Chaturvedi committee is involved with the go no go area. He was actually a member of the erstwhile planning commission. And the coal ministry proposed that the zone classification should not be implemented. And later a lot of bureaucratic hurdles were put up that considering all coal blocks without reference to go and no go areas and ruling icharu, that coal blocks in no-go zone were already allocated in. ఎనీవే మనకు అంత మైక్రో డీటెయిల్స్ అక్కర్లేదు బికాస్ ultimately the Chaturvedi committee had recommended that coal ministry gave alternative coal blocks to those allocated in the no-go zones. So that micromanagement was done. We should just be aware of what is go area and what is no-go area. No-go area lo where mining could be done in compliance with the environment and forest laws. And ikkada mana current affairs lo ochindi that many like 49 blocks ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయి 9 blocks no go areas బట్ అవి ట్వీక్ చేసి వీళ్ళు go areas లో పెట్టుకున్నారని it has been alleged. So I'm sure this is an ongoing development. Let us see how this issue evolves. And the last article for today is basically for prelims, it's important. The railways, it has introduced a drone surveillance system to enhance security at railway stations. So Eye in the Sky, improving surveillance system అనే ప్రాజెక్ట్లో రైల్వేస్ హ్యాస్ రీసెంట్లీ ప్రొక్యూర్డ్ నింజా అన్మాన్డ్ ఏరియల్ వెహికల్స్. సో దీంతో దేట్ బి రియల్ టైమ్ ట్రాకింగ్, వీడియో స్ట్రీమింగ్, ఆటోమేటిక్ ఫెయిల్ సేఫ్, ఎన్హాన్స్ మానిటరింగ్ అండ్ రైల్వే అసెట్స్ అండ్ ఆల్. సో రైల్వే ట్రాక్స్ ఏవైతే ఉన్నాయో అవి ఏమైనా డిసైలైన్ అయి ఉంటే దిస్ అ లాట్ ఆఫ్ డ్యామేజ్ విచ్ కెన్ బి డన్. అండ్ ఇది అవ్వకుండా దిస్ అ స్ట్రిక్ట్ యాక్చువల్లీ ప్రొసీజర్ బై ద రైల్వేస్ వేర్ దే హ్యావ్ అ మానిటరింగ్, బట్ ఈ డ్రోన్స్తో ఇట్ కెన్ బి డన్ faster. So the RPF is also planning extensive use of drone for security purposes, and additionally 17 more drones are being procured and such so on. And a drone camera can cover a large area which requires 8 to 10 RPF personnel. So 8 mandi chese pani oka drone cheyagaladu ikkada ninja drone. So this is important for prelims and even mains lo we have under ICT and robotics when we discuss akkada UAV is a very important topic. So UAV lo you can write such value additions. Like recently Railway has also been using this Eye in the Sky Ninja UAV. So with that we finish our paper and some sample mains questions for you. Like discuss the important provisions of the AP industrial policy. How far would it be effective in spurring the industrial growth in the state? So important provisions ki you don't have to study the entire document, the 22-page document, but the slide which you had seen, the important provisions, they can be measured. మనం ఏదైతే చూసామో దిస్ ఇస్ ఎనఫ్ ఫర్ ఆన్సరింగ్ ద క్వశ్చన్. అండ్ హౌ ఫార్ వుడ్ ఇట్ బి అంటే మనం పాజిటివ్స్ ఆఫ్ ద పాలసీ వి షుడ్ హైలైట్. లైక్ ఎంఎస్ఎంఈస్కి ఏం చేస్తున్నారు, వైఎస్ఆర్ వన్ ఏం చేస్తుంది, మన మెగా ఇండస్ట్రీస్కి ఏం చేస్తున్నారు, ఇవన్నీ వి షుడ్ హైలైట్. And but I wanted you to read the whole document because there can be a more deeper question, like what are the provisions instead of AP industrial policy ikkada for example provisions for MSME అని ఇచ్చారనుకోండి, then you can be able to answer it only after reading the document. Next question is, what are the consequences of illegal mining? Discuss the Ministry of Environment and Forests concept of go and no-go zones for coal mining. So we have discussed the second part of question in the previous slides. Illegal mining consequences enti? Illegal mining obviously the basic ones are pollution and sand conservation avadu, and state exchequer ki loss avutundi, royalty loss avutundi. There is growth of the coal mafia in many areas like Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Chhattisgarh, Madhya Pradesh, and the ecological concerns, all this you can highlight. This you would be studying in your Indian geography and even the state geography. So I hope you can write a good answer for that. So that's it, friends. With this, we can wrap up our discussion of today, 19th August Hindu newspaper analysis. And definitely, దీనికి మించి I don't think APPSCకి UPSCకి relevant articles ఏం లేవు ఇవాళ పేపర్లో. And additionally, we are also giving some links for you, some 4-5 links ఇవాళ డిస్కస్ చేసిన పేపర్లోనే for further reading if you want to spend more time, like AP industrial policy document ఇస్తాం ఇవాళ. You can go through the links instead of wasting your time and searching more for it. So with this session, మీకు current affairs కి కావాల్సిన daily session you can close it and you can start studying your static portion. Okay? Chalo, thank you so much and all the very best. Study hard.